Questions. A gentle smile, calm voice. In today's world, people have Wi-Fi connection in every room, but no Wi-Fi connection in their hearts. Questions. We can connect with anyone around the world in seconds, but we can't seem to connect with ourselves even for a minute. We live in an age where our minds are full, but our hearts are empty. Questions. And so, today let's talk about something we all desperately need. Simple daily habits to calm your mind. Not rocket science, not mountain meditation for 40 years. Just simple questions. Practical things that you and I can do every single day to bring peace in a world that constantly tries to take it away. Once a professor entered the classroom with a glass of water. Questions. Everyone thought he would ask, is it half full or half empty? But he didn't. He smiled and asked, how heavy is this glass of water? Students said, questions, 100 grams, 500 grams, 1 liter. He smiled again and said, it doesn't matter how heavy it is, it depends on how long I hold it. For if I hold it for a minute, it's fine. Questions. For an hour, it starts to hurt. For a day, my arm will go numb. He said, that's exactly what happens with your mind. Your thoughts are like that glass of water. The longer you hold them, questions, the heavier they become. So the first habit to calm your mind is simpler. Put the glass down once in a while. Let release. Relax. Breathe. Questions. The first 10 minutes of your morning decide the tone of your entire day. Don't start your day with someone else's chaos. Meaning, don't open your phone the moment you wake up. Instead, questions. Give yourself 10 minutes of silence. Sit, breathe, and just be. Remember, peace is not found in a forest, it's found in focus. We wake up and immediately think, questions. What do I have to do today? Instead, try asking, what am I grateful for today? Every morning, write 3 things you're grateful for. It shifts your mind from complaining to contentment. Questions. Because gratitude is the GPS that leads your heart back home. One day, a group of old students visited a university professor. They started complaining about stress, jobs, relationships, and life. Questions. The professor offered them coffee in various cups, porcelain, glass, crystal, cheap plastic. After everyone picked a cup, he said, notice something. Questions. You all chose the best looking cups, and that's the cause of your stress. You wanted the best cup, not the coffee. He smiled. Life is the coffee. Jobs, money, questions, status, they're just cups. Don't let the cups define the quality of your life. Questions. My dear friends, there's something truly magical about the early morning. The world hasn't yet started running. The phones are still asleep. Questions. And even the sun is slowly peeking out as if it too wants a few extra moments of peace before beginning the day. But what do? The moment our eyes open, our fingers run. Not to gratitude. Questions. Not to prayer, not to silence, but to the glowing rectangle beside our pillow. Let's just check one notification, we say. And before we know it, we've checked 30. Questions. The day has barely begun, and already our mind is flooded with other people's opinions, news of wars, celebrity gossip, and pending emails. Questions. No wonder the rest of the day feels like an emotional marathon. My friends, the way we start our morning sets the rhythm for the rest of our day. If the morning begins with chaos, questions, the whole day becomes a reflection of that chaos. But if it begins with calm, the day flows with grace. That's why one of the most powerful, simple daily habits you can cultivate is morning silence. Questions. Morning silence doesn't mean you have to sit cross-legged on a Himalayan peak. It simply means that for the first few minutes after you wake up, you choose not to engage with the noise of the world. Questions. Instead, you engage with yourself, with your breath, with your thoughts, with your soul. Let me share a small story. Once a man complained to his friend that his life was full of confusion. Questions. His mind always restless. His friend smiled and handed him a glass of muddy water. He said, Wait. After a few minutes, the mud settled and the water became clear. The man looked puzzled. Questions. His friend said, "That's your mind. When you stop shaking it with constant noise and activity, clarity naturally appears." Our mornings are exactly like that muddy glass. Questions. When we jump into phone calls, social media, or urgent tasks the moment we open our eyes, we stir the mud before it even settles. But if we give ourselves a few minutes of stillness, questions, the water of our mind clears and we can see our life with greater peace and purpose. Try this tomorrow. The moment you wake up, don't touch your phone. Instead, sit up, close your eyes, questions, and take 3 deep breaths. Feel your lungs expand with the first fresh air of the day. Hear the birds outside. Feel the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat. Whisper a silent thank you to life, questions, to your breath, to this beautiful new chance to live another day. Then just sit. For 5 or 10 minutes, do nothing. No rush, no plan, no noise. Just silence. It might feel strange at first. Questions. The mind will rebel. It will whisper, "Come on, check your messages. You have things to do." But stay with the silence. Because in that silence, something beautiful begins to happen. Questions. You start hearing yourself again. When you spend time in the morning silence, you begin your day by responding, not by reacting. You don't rush into decisions. Questions. You don't get carried away by emotions. You become more aware, more mindful, and more present. You stop living life on autopilot and start living it with intention. Questions. Think about it. If a musician starts his concert without tuning his instrument, no matter how skillful he is, the music won't sound right. Our mind is that instrument. Questions. The morning silence is the tuning process. It aligns us with peace, clarity, and focus before we start playing the music of our day. I once met a young professional who told me, "Swamiji, questions. I don't have time for silence. I'm too busy." I smiled and said, "My friend, you don't skip charging your phone, right? Because you know it won't last the day." Questions. Then why skip charging your mind? Silence is not a waste of time. It is an investment of time. 10 minutes of morning silence can save you hours of confusion and anxiety later. Questions. It's like rebooting your mental software before running the day's programs. And here's something beautiful: silence doesn't just calm the mind, it awakens creativity. Questions. Many of the world's greatest thinkers, writers, and inventors found their best ideas in moments of quiet reflection. The mind that is noisy cannot hear new ideas. It's too busy talking. Questions. But a silent mind can listen. In our modern world, we've been taught to measure productivity by how much we do. But the truth is, productivity begins with how well we think. Questions. And thinking well begins with thinking in peace. Silence gives your thoughts direction, your heart clarity, and your day purpose. Even nature follows this rhythm. Questions. After the darkest night comes the calm dawn. After the storm comes the stillness. After silence comes creation. You see. Questions. Silence isn't emptiness. It's the space from which everything meaningful begins. When you start your day with silence, small things stop bothering you. Traffic won't annoy you as much. Questions. Emails won't feel like burdens. You'll smile more, listen better, and speak softer. Your relationships will improve because calmness in the mind reflects as kindness in your words. Questions. So tomorrow morning, before the world wakes up, give yourself the gift of peace. Sit quietly with your cup of tea or water. Look outside the window. Feel gratitude for being alive. Questions. Whisper a prayer or affirmation, whatever resonates with you. Then, when you finally step into your day, do it not with rush but with grace. Remember, peace is not something you search for outside. Questions. It's something you nurture inside. And morning silence is the daily watering of that inner garden. So, my dear friends, tomorrow, when you wake up, don't reach for your phone. Reach for your soul. Questions. Sit in silence, breathe, feel, and remind yourself The world will still be there when you're ready. But for now, let me start my day not with noise, but with peace. Questions. Because when your morning begins in silence, your entire day becomes a song. Questions. My dear friends, have you ever noticed how easily we remember what went wrong in our day, but how quickly we forget what went right? We can recall who insulted us last week, questions, but struggle to remember who smiled at us this morning. We remember the traffic, the bills, the stress, but we forget the blessings that silently surround us every single day. That is why, questions, if we truly want to calm our minds and fill our hearts with peace, we must practice one of the simplest yet most powerful habits, keeping a gratitude journal. Now, questions. Gratitude is not just an emotion, it is a way of seeing the world. It's not about ignoring your problems, it's about learning to notice your blessings even when problems exist. Questions. It's about shifting focus from what's missing to what's present, from what's wrong to what's right. Because, my friends, the truth is this, questions. You can't feel stressed and grateful at the same time. One always drives the other away. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, and you can see. That's a blessing. Questions. You stretch your hands and your body moves. That's a blessing. You walk to the kitchen and there's food, there's water, there's electricity. All blessings. You have a roof above your head. Questions. People who care for you, opportunities waiting for you. That's a blessing. But we often take these for granted until the day we lose them. Gratitude is the art of noticing before losing. Questions. Let me share a story. A man once visited a wise monk and said, I feel unhappy and unlucky. Nothing in my life is working. The monk gave him a notebook and said, for the next 7 days, questions, write down 3 things you are grateful for every morning and 3 things every night. The man thought it was silly, but he did it. At first, he wrote things like, I'm grateful for my coffee. Questions. I'm grateful for my bed. But after a few days, he began to notice deeper things. I'm grateful for my mother's patience. I'm grateful for my friend who called me when I was low. Questions. I'm grateful for my health. After a week, he came back smiling. He said, nothing outside has changed, but everything inside has changed. The monk replied, questions. That's the power of gratitude. It doesn't change your circumstances. It changes your consciousness. You see, my friends, when we complain, we magnify what's wrong. Questions. But when we give thanks, we multiply what's right. Gratitude shifts our attention from lack to abundance, from worry to wonder. And when your attention shifts, your emotions follow. Questions. That's why keeping a gratitude journal is so effective. Because it's not just a feeling you hope will appear. It's a practice you build. Every morning, before the noise of the world takes over. Questions. Open a small notebook and write down 3 things you are grateful for. Don't just write them mechanically, feel them. Reflect on them. Maybe you're thankful for a friend, for a lesson learned. Questions. For your morning walk, or even for a challenge that taught you patience. Gratitude doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be genuine. And here's the beautiful secret. Questions. The more you practice gratitude, the more your mind starts to find new reasons to be grateful. It's like training your mental muscles. Just like when you exercise your body and get stronger. Questions. When you exercise gratitude, your happiness grows stronger. Think about this in your daily life. You're driving to work and it's raining. You can either grumble about the traffic, or you can say, questions. I'm grateful I have a car to stay dry. You're cooking dinner and your kids are making a mess. You can lose your temper, or you can smile and say, questions. I'm grateful I have a family that fills this house with laughter. The situation is the same, but the perspective changes everything. Questions. Gratitude transforms frustration into peace and ordinary moments into blessings. One of the most beautiful habits you can form is to end your day with gratitude. Before sleeping, questions. Reflect on your day and write down what went right. Maybe you had a good meal, someone appreciated your work, or you simply survived a tough day. When you go to sleep with gratitude, questions, you wake up with hope. And here's the most interesting part: science now confirms what spirituality has been teaching for centuries. Questions. Studies show that people who practice daily gratitude sleep better, worry less, and feel more positive about life. Their immune systems are stronger, their relationships are healthier, questions, and their minds are calmer. Gratitude literally rewires your brain to focus on joy instead of fear. But the real magic of a gratitude journal lies in its simplicity. Questions. You don't need an expensive notebook or fancy pen. You just need a willing heart. You could even write it on your phone, on a scrap of paper, or in your mind. Questions. What matters is not the medium, it's the mindfulness. And don't just write about the big things. Practice gratitude for the small, invisible things that make life possible. Questions. The breath in your lungs, the taste of your food, the kindness of a stranger, the sunset you almost missed because you were too busy scrolling. Gratitude brings us back to the present moment. Questions. It teaches us to see the sacred in the simple. There's a saying, the happiest people don't have the best of everything. Questions. They just make the best of everything they have. That's gratitude in action. So tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, before reaching for your phone, reach for your gratitude journal. Questions. Write 3 things that make your heart smile. They don't have to be perfect, they just have to be real. And as you write questions, you'll feel a quiet joy rising inside you. Because gratitude is the language of the soul, and when you speak it, peace answers back. Remember, my friends, life will never be free of challenges, questions, but it can always be full of blessings. Gratitude doesn't deny your struggles. It simply reminds you that even in the midst of storms, you still have reasons to dance in the rain. Questions. So keep that little journal close. Write, reflect, and feel. Because every time you choose gratitude, you choose calmness. And when your heart is full of thanks, your mind will always be at peace. Questions. My dear friends, have you ever noticed that when we are happy, our breath flows freely? When we are angry, it becomes fast and shallow. When we are anxious, it almost disappears. Questions. And when we are peaceful, our breathing becomes slow, steady, and deep. It's almost as if our breath is the language through which our body speaks to our mind. Yet in our busy lives, questions, we rarely stop to listen. We breathe every second of our existence, but how often are we aware that we are breathing? That's why this key habit, conscious breathing, is so important. You see, questions. Breathing is the bridge between the body and the mind. When the body is tense, the breath changes. When the mind is restless, the breath changes. But the beauty is, it works the other way too. Questions. When you change your breath, you change your mind. It's nature's simplest and most powerful tool to bring instant calmness. Imagine this. You are stuck in traffic. The cars are honking. Questions. Your meeting starts in 10 minutes and frustration begins to rise. Your breath quickens, your shoulders tense. Questions. And your mind starts running stories. Why does this always happen to me? In that moment, your body is in fight or flight mode, even though you're just sitting in your car. Now pause. Questions. Close your eyes for a second, take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, hold it gently, and exhale slowly through your mouth. Do it again. You'll notice that your heartbeat slows down. Questions. Your shoulders relax and the traffic is still there, but your reaction has changed. That is the power of conscious breathing. It doesn't remove the problem, it removes the panic. Questions. Most people think that peace of mind is something you get when all your problems disappear. But peace isn't the absence of problems. Questions. It's the ability to remain centered even when problems surround you. And conscious breathing gives you that ability. It's like pressing the reset button on your emotions. Questions. Let me share a simple real life story. A young woman once came to me after a stressful week. She said, I feel like I'm always anxious. My boss shouts, my children fight. Questions. My mind never stops racing. I've tried everything, music, TV, exercise, but nothing really works. I asked her questions. How often do you just stop and breathe? She looked at me puzzled and said, I breathe all the time. I smiled and replied, no, you exist all the time, but you don't breathe consciously. Questions. There's a difference. I taught her a simple technique to stop 3 times a day, close her eyes and take 5 deep breaths. Just 5. Within a week, she came back glowing. Questions. I don't know what happened, she said, but I feel calmer. I react less, and somehow my children and even my boss seem nicer. I laughed and told her, "Thee haven't changed. You have." Questions. Your breath brought you home to yourself, but our breath is the most loyal companion we have. From the moment we are born till our very last moment, it stays with us. Yet, questions. We treat it as something ordinary. We look for peace in fancy retreats, in new hobbies, in vacations far away. But peace is right here, hiding in our next breath. When you breathe consciously, questions. You give your body the message that you are safe. Your nervous system calms down, your stress hormones drop, and your brain starts functioning clearly again. Questions. That's why even doctors and psychologists today recommend deep breathing to control anxiety and improve focus. Science has caught up with what ancient wisdom already knew. Your breath can heal you. Questions. And it's not just about health. It's about awareness. Conscious breathing brings you into the present moment. Most of our stress doesn't come from what's happening right now. Questions. It comes from what our mind is replaying from the past or imagining about the future. But when you focus on your breath, this inhale, this exhale, you return to the only moment that truly exists. Questions. Now, I once heard someone say, if you want to measure your peace, measure your breath. The more hurried your breath, the more restless your mind. The slower your breath, the deeper your peace. Questions. Try observing your breath when you're angry next time. It becomes sharp and rapid. That's your signal. Instead of shouting, pause and breathe. Questions. You'll notice that the anger loses its fire because oxygen cools emotions faster than logic ever can. And it's such a simple practice. You don't need equipment, you don't need money. Questions. You don't even need much time. All you need is awareness. Whether you're working at your desk, walking in the park, or washing dishes, you can do it anywhere. Take a deep breath in. Questions. Hold it gently and release it slowly. Feel the air entering your body like calm energy and leaving as tension. If you can do this a few times a day, you'll feel lighter, clearer, and more centered. Questions. Even great performers, athletes, and speakers use conscious breathing before stepping on stage or into competition. Because it steadies their nerves, it brings focus. Questions. It prepares them to perform at their best, not with panic but with poise. The truth is, most of us live like we're holding our breath, rushing from one task to another, one worry to another. Questions. But life isn't a race to be finished, it's a rhythm to be lived, and your breath sets that rhythm. When you breathe consciously, you move from racing through life to flowing through it. Questions. So tomorrow morning, before you start your day, take a few minutes to just sit and breathe. No goals, no judgments, no hurry. Just feel your breath move in and out. Questions. That simple act can transform your entire day. Because when your breath is calm, your mind is calm. And when your mind is calm, you make better choices, speak kinder words, and see life more clearly. Questions. Remember this, my friends. You don't need to go to the mountains to find peace. You just need to go within. And the doorway within is your breath. Every inhale is a reminder that life is a gift. Questions. Every exhale is a chance to let go of what you can't control. So the next time you feel anxious, angry, or overwhelmed, don't fight the emotion. Just pause. Close your eyes. Questions. Take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. That's not just breathing, that's healing. Conscious breathing is your invisible anchor in a chaotic world. When the storms of life hit, questions, your breath will be the rope that ties you to peace. So breathe, my friend. Breathe deeply, breathe slowly, and breathe gratefully. Because every breath is not just air, it's life whispering. Questions. You're still here. You're still capable. You're still blessed. Questions. My dear friends, we live in an age of constant connection, but deep down, we've never been more disconnected from ourselves, from others, and from peace. Questions. The world fits in the palm of our hands now. Every beep, buzz, every vibration is a cry for our attention. And without realizing it, questions. Our attention has become the most valuable currency of this century. We spend it more carelessly than money. The result, our minds are restless, our hearts are distracted, questions, and our peace has been stolen, not by force but by notification. That's why this habit, digital detox moments, is so vital in today's world. Questions. It doesn't mean you throw your phone into the river or live in a cave without fire, although some of us might secretly dream of that. Questions. It means that you intentionally create small pockets of time in your day when you disconnect from screens, so you can reconnect with yourself. Let's be honest. For most people, questions. The day begins and ends with a screen. We wake up, check our phones before we even check our thoughts. We scroll through other people's lives before we've lived a single moment of our own. Questions. And at night, the last thing our eyes see is not the stars above, but the glow of a digital world that never sleeps. Questions. Have you ever noticed how your mood changes after scrolling on social media for too long? You start comparing, overthinking, worrying. You see someone on a vacation, someone buying a new car, questions, someone announcing success, and suddenly your own life feels dull. You forget that what you're seeing is just a highlight reel, not the whole story. But your mind, poor thing, questions, doesn't know the difference. It starts running at full speed, comparing, desiring, and eventually tiring. Our devices were meant to make life easier, but somewhere along the line, questions, they began to control us. A message tone can interrupt a family dinner. A work email can invade a weekend. A meme can distract us in the middle of a conversation. We are surrounded by technology, questions, yet starved for attention, depth, and peace. That's where the beauty of digital detox moments comes in. Imagine setting aside 30 minutes a day. Just 30 minutes where you put your phone away. Questions. Switch off your TV and give yourself permission to simply be. It could be early in the morning when the world is still quiet, during lunch, or before bed. Questions. Those moments will feel uncomfortable at first, like a detox always does. You'll reach for your phone instinctively, only to realize it's not there. But then, questions. Something magical will happen. Your mind will start breathing again. Let me share a simple story. There was once a young man who felt constantly anxious and tired. He said, Swamiji, questions. I don't know what's wrong. I sleep enough, I eat well, but I still feel drained. I asked him, how often are you looking at your phone? He laughed nervously and said, questions. Almost all the time. It's my alarm clock, my calendar, my music, my everything. I smiled and said, that's the problem. Your phone has become your master. Questions, not your tool. I suggested that for the first hour after waking up and the last hour before sleeping, he should avoid all screens. No news, no emails, no social media. Just real life. At first, questions. It was hard. He felt restless, like something was missing. But within a week, he told me, I feel lighter. I think more clearly. My mornings are peaceful. Questions. And my sleep is deeper than it's been in years. That's the power of a digital detox. When you disconnect from noise, you reconnect with clarity. Technology itself is not the enemy. Questions. It's a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. The key is not rejection, but regulation. When you learn to use it consciously, not compulsively, it becomes a bridge to wisdom, not a barrier to it. Questions. Think about the last time you sat with your family or friends and everyone was looking at their phones. The silence in that room wasn't peaceful. It was disconnected. Questions. Now imagine a simple dinner without devices, just conversation, laughter, presence. That's not just good manners, it's good medicine for the soul. Even science today agrees. Questions. Research shows that excessive screen time increases stress, disturbs sleep, and decreases concentration. Our brains are overstimulated, constantly switching between apps, tabs, and tasks. Questions. It's like trying to drive in 10 directions at once. No wonder we crash emotionally. But when we take regular digital breaks, our focus improves, our creativity returns, and our mood stabilizes. Questions. A digital detox moment doesn't have to be fancy. It could be as simple as taking a walk without your phone, listening to the sounds of nature instead of a playlist. Questions. Sitting by the window and watching the sunset, not through the lens of your camera, but through the lens of your eyes. These are the small acts that bring big peace. Questions. And here's the interesting part. When you start taking digital breaks, you realize how much of your stress wasn't real. It was borrowed from what you consume. Questions. Half the problems we think we have were planted there by something we saw or read online. The more we scroll, the less we feel in control. But the more we pause, questions, the more we regain command of our inner world. I once told a group of students, your mind is like a lake. Every notification is like a stone thrown into it. If you never stop the stones, questions, the water will always stay disturbed. They laughed, but then one of them came to me weeks later and said, I started turning my phone off during study time. Questions. I can't tell you how peaceful it feels. My thoughts are clearer, my focus sharper. Questions. I didn't realize how much energy my phone was stealing. That's the truth. We are not tired from doing too much. We are tired from thinking too much, scrolling too much, consuming too much. Questions. What we need is not more stimulation, but more stillness. And that stillness begins when we put our devices down. So, my friends, try this. For at least 1 hour each day, unplug from the digital world. Questions. Step outside, talk to someone face to face, read a book, meditate, or simply do nothing. Let your mind rest from the constant stream of information. You'll be amazed at how alive you feel. Remember, questions. Peace doesn't come from faster Wi-Fi or more followers. It comes from fewer distractions and deeper connections. Questions. The goal of a digital detox moment is not to escape technology, but to reclaim your attention, the most precious resource you have. Because when you disconnect from your phone, questions, you reconnect with life. When you silence the outer noise, you can finally hear the gentle whispers of your heart. And that, my dear friends, is where true calmness begins. Questions. My dear friends, have you ever noticed that whenever you do something kind, your heart feels lighter? That warm feeling. Questions. That small smile that stays on your face after helping someone. That's not coincidence, that's connection. It's the soul's way of whispering. This is who you really are. You see, questions. We often think that calmness and happiness come from what we get, but true peace comes from what we give. Questions. When you perform an act of kindness, even something small, you create a ripple that touches not only another person's life, but your own heart as well. That's the beauty of kindness in action. Questions. We live in a world that constantly tells us to achieve more, earn more, be more. But seldom does anyone say, be kind more. And yet, kindness is the most powerful, affordable. Questions. An instantly effective medicine for a restless mind. When you act with kindness, something miraculous happens inside you. Your focus shifts from me to we. Questions. From your worries to someone else's well-being. The weight of your own problems begins to feel lighter because kindness turns self-centeredness into service, and service brings peace. Questions. Let me share a story. A young man once came to me and said, Swamiji, I feel so depressed. I've tried everything, meditation, journaling, therapy, but nothing works. I smiled and said, Questions. Tomorrow do one small kind act for someone without expecting anything in return. He looked surprised but agreed. The next day he came back smiling. He said, Questions. I bought breakfast for a street cleaner today. The joy on his face made me feel alive again. I told him, that's the secret. When you make someone else's life brighter. Questions. Your own life stops feeling so dark. Kindness doesn't have to be grand. It's not about donating millions or doing big things that make the news. It's about small questions, genuine gestures that touch hearts, holding the door open for someone, smiling at a stranger, saying thank you sincerely, listening when someone really needs to talk. Questions. Writing a note of appreciation. These simple acts seem small, but to the one receiving them, they can mean the world. Think about how you feel after someone shows you kindness unexpectedly. Questions. It could be as simple as a friend checking on you when you're low, or a stranger giving way in traffic with a smile. In that moment, your heart softens. You feel seen. You feel valued. Questions. Now imagine being the one who creates that feeling for others. That's what kindness does. It transforms both the giver and the receiver. Questions. Our mind often feels restless because it keeps running in circles around our own problems. Our goals, our fears, our insecurities. But when you do something kind, the circle breaks. Questions. You step out of your own little world and enter someone else's. Suddenly your mind becomes quiet, your heart becomes open, and your spirit feels uplifted. Questions. Kindness is like an instant meditation. It brings you into the present, connects you to humanity, and reminds you of what truly matters. Questions. I remember once seeing a young boy on a bus give up his seat for an elderly woman. No one told him to do it. No one clapped. But that small act spoke volumes. The woman smiled, the boy smiled. Questions. And I smiled too. And in that simple exchange, 3 hearts without a single word being spoken. That's the silent power of kindness. It communicates without language. Questions. It heals without medicine, and it inspires without preaching. Even science agrees. Psychologists have found that when we perform acts of kindness, our brains release serotonin and oxytocin. Questions. The very chemicals that make us feel happy and peaceful. That means kindness literally changes the chemistry of your mind. It's nature's built-in antidepressant. Questions. But kindness isn't just something you do, it's something you become. It's not a performance, it's a presence. When kindness becomes your default reaction, peace becomes your natural state. Questions. Life will keep testing you. People may be rude, unfair, or ungrateful. But every time you choose kindness over anger, you strengthen your inner peace. Questions. Because kindness is not about others deserving it, it's about you not losing yourself. Let's be honest. In today's fast-paced, competitive world, kindness is often mistaken for weakness. Questions. People think if I'm kind, people will take advantage of me. But my friends, kindness is not weakness, it's wisdom. Questions. It takes far more strength to stay calm and kind in a harsh world than to react with ego or anger. The weak seek revenge, the strong show compassion. There's a beautiful quote that says, be kind. Questions. For everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. And it's true. The person who cuts you off in traffic might be rushing to the hospital. Questions. The rude colleague might be going through a personal storm. The cashier who doesn't smile might be carrying invisible pain. When you choose kindness, questions, you don't just make others' lives easier. You make the world a little softer, a little gentler, a little more human. One of my favorite moments is when kindness spreads like a chain. Questions. You help someone, they help another, and that energy continues far beyond what you can see.